entrepreneur and philanthropist, I will demonstrate why investing in women yields positive results to society. And for this, I will take you on my journey into philanthropy. So this is Sana, the person who is responsible for my quest to create a society where men and women are given the same rights and chances. Sana was born in a poor village in Morocco, and like 60 to 100,000 of her fellow compatriots, she went to work in a family of strangers as a maid in a big city like Casablanca or Marrakesh. Her parents decided to send her because they could not afford to feed her and her brother, and they saw that her brother's education was more important. They did not know that she would never go to school, sleep on the floor, work 12 hours a day, and be beaten every time her mistress was not happy with her. This is what happened to Sana, as you can see, and it happened to thousands of little maids, whether it's in Morocco or around the world. So in 2005, I decided I just had sold one of my business, was working on a few other ventures, but I felt I was missing something. You know, I had a good education, I was financially successful at a young age, but I felt if life had given me so much, I had to do something, I had to give back to society and try to create a better society. So that's why I went to Morocco to meet NGO work on children. And there I met INSAF, who was working on reintegrating women into society, mainly single mothers. And we quickly realized that the disproportionate number of single mothers, of prostitutes, and street girls were former little maids. And that's when I met Sana and decided that as a man, I could not let other human beings get the short end of the sticks because they were born a woman. So my first and foremost argument why we should proactively invest in girls and women is that society who foster gender equality and social justice tend to progress, be more peaceful, and be more stable, while the ones who don't, they tend to regress. Let me give you statistics. That's the cost, 92 billion, to the countries, the 65 countries who don't invest in girls' education to the same level as boys. Can you imagine 65 billion? Huge numbers. And my talk will be about explaining to you why investing in women is great, women and girls, and also the cost to society, to the one who don't do it, to the one I'm talking about governments. But let's go back and talk about the plight of women around the world, or the situation of women around the world. 70% of the world's poor are women. Can you imagine 70%? Why not 50-50? I saw there were more or less 50% men, 50% women. We'll go on. I'm going to bore you with statistics, but I know if I want to change the man's mind, I need to bore them with statistics. Okay, women work 2/3 of the world's working hours. Okay, so they should get what, 2/3? Maybe a little less if you're sexist, you think men are so much smarter. No, they only get 10% of the income. 2/3, 10%. I mean, huge discrepancy. I told you I'm an entrepreneur, and mainly I'm a real estate developer, so I believe in the value of owning real estate. What do you think women own in terms of properties around the world? Okay, 10%, that's already would be crazy. Sorry. Only 1% of the properties around the world are owned by women. Can you imagine? And when you know how important it is to own your property, to feel that you have a shelter, that you have a place, But being an entrepreneur, I felt, that I wanted to look at data that back the fact that investing in women made sense, And making sense, by that I mean being good for society, and society being men and women. So let's look at education. Every year that you educate a girl beyond 4th grade has tremendous results. I'm going to only put 2 here. Wage rise by 20%, and family size drops 20%. So, clear statistics, and I have many more, but, dropping 20%. So there is a cost to society, by doing that, so it's very beneficial, But there is probably one more that's even more important. If you send 10% more of girls to school, the GDP grows by 3%. Big numbers, and when we know how much we're struggling to grow our GDP those days. So, with that in mind, I said, if I believe in education, where should I go? So at the time, it was clear we decided to go to Afghanistan. At the time, the Taliban had banned girls from going to school and women from working. But the new government decided to foster gender parity within the school system. But when we went there, we realized that a lot of girls were dropping out of schools, and also that the girls' school was not as good as the boys' schools. Out of the top 5 schools in Afghanistan, there was not a single one who was a girls' school. In Afghanistan, the boys and girls' schools are separated, a bit like the Brits, but for different reasons. So we decided, at the time, to work on improving girls' education, and secondly, to try to keep as many girls as possible in school. we started working with Al Fatah. Al Fatah was the largest school for girls, 5,000 pupils. And we said if it works with the largest one, then we could replicate it across Afghanistan. So we worked, and 3 years after, Al Fatah became the best girls' schools, and now it's the only girls' school that's on the top 5 schools in Afghanistan. So no, we're very proud of what we did, but that's not changing. You know, one school is nothing in a big country like Afghanistan. You know, are we revolutionizing girls' education in Afghanistan? Maybe not yet, but what I know is now that we have like thousands of girls who get good education and who can dream about a better future for them and their country. So with that in mind, let's listen to Fazana, who's one of our students in Kabul.
My dearest wish or big ambition for my life is just serving my country, being a doctor especially, and also make my country improve. It's my big ambition.
A few years ago, Fazana could have never dreamed of, saying those things, On the Taliban, she could not study, she could not dream about being anything, So by 2015, we will have more than 50,000 girls going through the schools that we're working with. And if you know the power of girls graduating from school, each of you would focus on it. Each girl that graduates from my school will be twice as likely to send her children to school. Whether a boy or a girl, no discrimination. I don't think women discriminate the same way as men, And secondly, 3 times less likely to have HIV. The cost of HIV to society is huge. So once again, benefits in terms of growth and benefits in terms of reduction of costs. So it's very clear. And I've put 2 here, but I could put another 5 or 10, So, my point here is that, we have a lot of data that backs the fact that investing in women yields a lot of positive results to society. But there is one thing that I think it's hard to measure. And, I'm an entrepreneur. I believe in measuring numbers and measuring the impact, but it's the ability to dream. In many countries, women don't have the ability to dream. I met many women, whether it's in Afghanistan, whether it's in the Middle East, to tell me, I'm going to move from my parents to my husband. I don't have that phase where I can do something or where I can dream about being something. And I think that's one of the essential things, I measure the impact in the 4 program, but giving that ability to dream is very, very important. And with that in mind, I met Reza Degati. Some of you know him. He's a famous photographer who was taking all the picture of Massoud, General Massoud, who was killed just before September 11. And Reza was telling me, about his new venture, which is about training women journalists in Afghanistan and starting a radio run by women. And I love the idea. I said, amazing, we should do the same in the Middle East, because what better ways to inspire, and empower women than having women media managers, women journalists. So in 2009, I met Maysoon. And Maysoon used to run an Israeli-Palestinian coexistence radio that was shut down. So we decided to launch together Radio Nisa. Nisa in Arabic means woman. And I'm very glad to say that now, about 4 years after, Nisa is the 3rd largest radio in the West Bank and Gaza. It's going to be break-even next year. I'm an entrepreneur. I believe that we need to do projects that are sustainable. And thirdly, nearly 40% of audience is men. And that, for me, is essential because if you want to change the role of women in society, you need to change the way men look at women. Did we make friends in the Palestinian territories? Probably not, because what we're trying to do is to portray women who are doctors, architects, who are journalists, who believe that they can be more than what men want them to be, or that their society, is telling them that they should be. That's, another point of the fact that we should dream. We talk also about honor killing, violence against women, early marriage, things that happen every day in those countries, and many women, they don't know what to do with it, So having other women talking about it, gives them a lot of hope about, that there is something that they could do about. So, I'm going back, a lot of data backing women, very important, Being a French and a Swiss citizen, I always thought that in my countries, men and women were equal. And, it's probably true, if you look at university, as many women graduate from university than men, women are giving a lot of chances in terms of their careers. But I was reading this book called Sois-belle et bats-toi, French book by Yolande de Labigne. Very, very interesting book, If anybody's interested, I'm happy to give a copy. And there was a statistics that I looked and I said, it's not possible, And I kept reading it and I said, if this is true, we can no longer call ourselves, a civilized society or a developed societies, And you're gonna ask me, what is this statistics, And this is the statistics. France, 2008, 75,000 women being raped, 140 women being killed by their husband or boyfriend. This is France, a country that's supposed to be developed, where you have more women graduating from university than men. Every 6 minutes, a woman is being raped. Can you imagine? 6 minutes? Me, as a French guy, as a man, I said, I cannot tolerate this, you know. How can this be happening? And, you know, so I was thinking, I said, is it only happening in France, only in Europe? No, you know. So I went and looked at data, you know, and I hired Accenture to do a study on violence against women around the world, you know. And I'm very sad to say, you know, that, you know, it's happening around the world. 1 in 3 women around the world will at some point be beaten, coerced into sex, you know, or suffer violence, you know. That's 1 billion women. Can you imagine? 1 billion? We're not talking about 10,000, 1 billion. And you can see the statistics, you know, the developed countries, you know, they're not as bad, but I mean, it's crazy numbers, you know. So, I mean, you know, with that in mind, can you imagine the cost, the emotional cost to all the women? Can you imagine to the families, you know, when you see your mother as a boy is being beaten by your father, what it does to your mind? A lot of boys will tend to redo the same. A woman, a daughter will see her mother be beaten, will think that it's the normality. So, you know, for me, I was totally shocked by it, you know. But we're in London, this amazing city, you know. I love the Brits, but I said, you know, what's happening here in the UK, you know? Is there the same problem? That's what's happening here in the UK, violence. 1 in 4 women, you know, will be beaten in her life. Okay, and if we go back to the cost of society, what's happening, you know, in terms, you know, there's the emotional cost to the woman, but that's what's happening. 23 billion, that's how much it's costing to the UK society. So we're talking about a time where we need to, you know, improve our finance, lower our spending, and we're spending 23 billion? Shouldn't we be empowering women instead of literally beating them down? But, you know, an entrepreneur is a positive guy, so always try to look at, you know, the positive things. So, you know, I'm not going to finish with those statistics. You know, there is a big debate in Europe and around the world about women on board. Should we have a quota? Shouldn't we have a quota? I don't have a firm view on whether we should have a quota or not. But what I know is hard data. And that companies who have more, you know, female board members tend to outperform the one who have the least. Clear numbers, you know, so why not? Why not invest, you know, in having more women on board? Whether quota or not, you know, you're a smart business guys, do it, you know. So that's why, you know, I'm calling to all the men, you know, in this room and the one who will listen to me, you know, to invest in women and girls. Train them, educate them, you know, let them be leaders, let them be bold, you know, because, you know, don't tolerate their oppression, don't tolerate the violence they have to endure, because you're smart, because, you know, you have sisters, mothers, wives, daughters who deserve the same chances as boys and men, but also because you want to live in a society that is prosperous, that is growing, that is stable and peaceful. And until that day happen, that women and girls are given the same chances that I was given, I will fight. It's not about women's rights, and actually human rights, because I want to live in a society that is peaceful and I can be proud of. Thank you very much.